Hi, everybody. We are going to talk about scientific process part 2's questions. Okay, your assignment was to read the related reading for the scientific process brain pop video and answer some questions. Sorry. Okay, here are and here's the related reading. And here are the questions. Let's look at questions 1 and 2 first. What's a similarity between repeatability and reproducibility, and what's a difference? All right, now if you click the link to the related reading in the classwork assignment, it will take you to this page here in Brain Pop. All right, we're going to look at in practice first. That comes up first. And here are the words we care about today. The other ones, we'll deal with this later, and that one. All right, today we're worried about repeatability and reproducibility. All right, repeatability means if you do an experiment and you get a certain result, if you try the exact same experiment again, you will get a very similar result. Okay? You're doing it yourself, you do it more than once, you should get similar answers. All right? Reproducibility, the results of an experiment by one research team should be able to be reproduced by a different team using the same experimental procedures. Right? So if I do an experiment and get a certain result, you should be able to do the same experiment following the same steps, using the same materials and equipment that I do. You should get similar results to mine. That's reproducibility. Now, if I can do it over and over again and get the same results, that's good repeatability. If I can do it and then you can also do it and get similar results, that's reproducibility. So the difference, all right, so let's go back to the questions. What's a similarity? We're doing them over. We're doing an experiment over again. All right, what's the difference? In repeatability, you do your own work over again. In reproducibility, you do somebody else's work and try to get the same answers. Okay? All right, let's move on to question 3. Dr. Snow and his work, the cholera in Soho. All right, so that's the other tab here. Okay, he noticed cholera breaking out in a neighborhood of London, England, in the year 1854. Some people thought this was due to bad air because it usually smelled pretty bad in places where cholera was cropping up. But Dr. John Snow thought it was the water. Okay? Specifically water, drinking water that's been polluted by sewage, right? Which doesn't smell very good, which is why some people thought the air might be doing it. Not everybody did, but lots of people did. All right, so Snow thought he'd noticed before that there was a group of people who became ill drinking from a well that had been contaminated by sewage. Other people on the street stayed healthy, but they got their water from a different well, which was uphill from the other well and was not contaminated by the sewage. So this led him to think sewage was the problem, right? So he made a hypothesis that people who were dying were getting water from the same source, right? Okay, he recorded the location of each death on a map and analyzed the distribution. Of the 84 deaths on record, 76 lived near a single water pump on Broad Street. This evidence made a compelling argument that the pump's water was contaminated. But to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, he needed to account for the data's outliers or exceptions. One group of outliers was the people who got sick but didn't live near Broad Street. but he found that they regularly traveled there, often drank from the contaminated pump. All right, that takes care of 6 of them. The other 2 got water from people who got it from that pump. All right, so basically everyone who died, all 84 people who died, got their water from this pump on Broad Street. Okay, now people who were near this pump, some of them didn't get sick. There was a workhouse, which is where you would have to go in old England if you weren't able to pay your debts. You would go to the workhouse and you would do jobs, and any money you earned went to paying off your debts. But they didn't pay very much. People would be stuck here for a long time. Anyway, and there was a brewery, both less than a block from the pump, but people weren't dying from cholera there. Okay. The workhouse had its own water source. All right. And most of the people who worked at the brewery were drinking beer instead of water. So the contamination wasn't a problem. Okay. And if you would like to see it. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, here it is. Okay, sorry. All right, I'll put it up again. This is John Snow's map. All right, here's Broad Street. Here's the pump. We're here on this corner. See, lots of dead people. Every place where you see these dark bars, there's a mark where somebody died in those houses. Okay. Here's the workhouse, not too far away. Only a few dead here. Lots of people dead here, some along here, over here. Marks, 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 marks. Here's the brewery, nobody. Okay. That's his evidence. Okay. People build on that. Dr. Snow is considered to be one of the first epidemiologists, which means people who study how diseases spread from one person to another. All right. Epidemiologists are the doctors who have been studying, trying to figure out how coronavirus is spread from one person to another. And that's how we know that we need to stay away from each other because it's in droplets in the air. And if you can't stay far enough apart from each other, you need to wear a mask over your nose and your mouth, both. Because moisture from your respiratory tract comes out both of those places and goes in both of those places. So you have to protect yourself with a mask over your mouth and your nose. Okay? And wash your hands so that if you do need to touch your face, getting your hair out of your eyes or whatever, your hands are clean. You're not now putting anything where it could get into your system on the inside. All right. All right. As a result of Dr. Snow's work, they shut down that water pump and people didn't die of cholera in that neighborhood anymore. Okay. So, what was his observation? People were dying in Soho, and there was one pump there. And he'd noticed, okay, what's his hypothesis? That the water in that pump was contaminated and making people sick. And what was his evidence? That most of the people who were dying lived near that pump and used it for drinking water. A few other people who had died still got water from that pump, even though they didn't live there. And people who were nearby but not using this pump weren't getting cholera and dying. And that's that. All right, let me know if you have any questions to complete this assignment, and we'll see you again soon. Bye. Bye.